is the Writer's Almanac for Saturday. It's New Year's Day, January the 1st, 2022. It was on this day, 1863, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It's the birthday of E.M. Forster, born London, 1879, who wrote his 5 most important novels, including A Room with a View, Howard's End, and A Passage to India, all before he was 40 years old. And it's the birthday of J.D. Salinger, Jerome David Salinger, New York City, 1919. Started his career writing short stories for slick magazines, the Saturday Evening Post, Mademoiselle, Good Housekeeping, and so forth. He sent the New Yorker a story called Slight Rebellion off Madison in 1941, a story about a teenager named Holden Caulfield, and the New Yorker bought it. They did not print it because World War II had begun. Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor, and the story felt too trivial for time of war. Salinger was drafted into the Army. He was stationed in England. He was still writing through June of 1943 when he learned he would be deployed in D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. His division hit the beach in the 5th hour of the invasion. For the next several months, Salinger saw some of the bloodiest fighting of the war, including the Battle of the Bulge. Between 50 and 200 soldiers in his division killed or wounded every day. And at the end of the war, he checked into an army hospital in Nuremberg suffering from a nervous breakdown, spent several months there recuperating. It was after his release from the hospital that he wrote a Holden Caulfield story narrated by Holden Caulfield himself called I'm Crazy, published in Collier's in December 1945. And a year later, the New Yorker finally published Slight Rebellion off Madison. In 1949, he went to see the editor Robert Giroux. Giroux wrote a tall, sad-looking young man with a long face and deep-set black eyes. Walked in saying, "It's not my stories that should be published, but the novel I'm working on about this kid in New York during the Christmas holidays." Giroux liked the novel, but one of his superiors in the company thought the kid seemed too crazy, so they had to turn down The Catcher in the Rye, which was published 1951 by Little Brown. It got mixed reviews. The New York Times did not care for it, but Catcher in the Rye hit the bestseller list after just a couple of weeks, stayed there for 6 months, and went on to sell more than 60 million copies. Here's a poem for today by Gary Johnson entitled Another Year. Another year gone, and the old man with a sigh is mowing closer. He hasn't been subtle, has he? Too many good people gone, and I could sit and cry for them, except that you look exceptionally snazzy despite the miles on your odometer, as if you have a few more aces up your sleeve. Maybe you were born under a lucky comet, or maybe it's the wine. But I do believe when I look at you and take your hand, you're positively glowing. Maybe we've been sorry a long enough time, and now we get some grandeur and do our dance and sing our aria. May this year bring us, before it has flown, all we would have wished for had we only known. A poem by Gary Johnson, Another Year, used by permission of the poet here on the Writer's Almanac. Funded by donations from listeners like you, now available on PRX for distribution by your local radio station. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.